Princess and the Peas, a tale written by Penelope, Sheryln, Anhelica, Marisa, and Haileigh. Once upon a time, there was a very, very lonely prince. He traveled far and wide to find someone like himself. A proper princess to share his life with, and he knew one thing for certain that would lock in his fate and make his dream a reality. She must be a true princess, not like all the others who had tried before and lied to him just to be by his side. While he traveled, he found many princesses, each claiming to be a real princess. Although each had proper descent and credentials, there always seemed to be something missing. People began to say he was looking for something that he did not want to find and would even mock him when he wouldn't listen. Finally, he returned home in despair, wanting nothing more than to find a princess who would be his and a true princess inside and out. Another summer passed, and the leaves were falling from the trees when a terrible storm blew in from the sea. As the prince sat by the fire reading, suddenly lightning drew closer and louder, with thunder rattling the windows to the point the prince was sure they'd break. Hours into the night, the storm raged, and at midnight a sudden calm fell to the noise just outside just as soon as it began to rage. An eerie knock was heard at the town's gate. It was gentle but insistent. The townspeople and the courtiers rubbed their eyes and wondered who could have been out in such a storm, and the king sent his adviser towards the sound at the town's gate. There stood a princess in an extremely terrible state. Rain poured from her hair, her clothes, and her shoes as it overflowed, splashing out with every shiver her body created. She claimed she was a princess, and all the advisers laughed aloud, but she still stood her ground and was persistent she was a true princess. "We'll see soon enough that is true," whispered the queen softly to herself as she walked out to take a peek as to who was at the town's gate. The princess was offered a warm dinner and some dry clothes, while the queen set off to prepare a sleeping chamber for her. First she stripped all the bed sheets of the mattress and proceeded to place a single pea in the center of the bedstead. Next, she called for 20 mattresses and piled them one on top of the other and the pea. Finally, 20 feather beds were added on top of the mattress, and the princess' sleeping arrangements were made. While the queen was preparing the sleeping arrangements, the princess had snuck into the castle's kitchen and stole the chef's pre-made breakfast dishes. Although she was a princess and had all this food and more from her residence, she simply could not help herself from all that was in front of her. She was out of control, as all the food to her was similar to a townsperson receiving gold. She quickly grabbed the fruit as well as the crackers, breads, the sweets, and even some leftover steak meant for the dogs. She then looked into the fridge and also grabbed some cheese, chicken meant for the foxes, some cucumber for the spa, the fish for the cats, carrots for the horses and rabbits, and finally some peas she couldn't quite understand why she wanted, but she grabbed anyways to indulge herself in. She watched the queen leave her room and quickly ran with all her findings. The princess began to distribute the food between the many mattresses, where she could easily get them after she was excused from dinner.
Dinner came and went, and it was now time for them to rest. As they all went into their respective chambers, the princess quietly, but in a hurry, looked under her first mattress and started eating. As she finished the food from under her mattress, she moved to the second and began eating some sweets. While she moved through each of the 40 mattresses, she noticed that she began to move quicker, and she felt like she could not stop herself as she put more and more food in her stomach, which was much past the feeling of fullness. When the sun came up, the princess was finished, and she had gotten to the end of the mattresses, where she had found a small little pea. She didn't know why it was there, but as she knew the family would awake soon, and she decided to leave the pea for some time later. She then left her room, tired and exhausted from last night, and she joined the family for breakfast, as if nothing had happened. The king and queen got upset at the chefs, who they had assumed prepared breakfast for the morning, only to find no food prepared, and they felt embarrassed to have nothing in the presence of their guest, the princess. They ordered the chef to make breakfast as fast as possible, and would deal with the consequences of such actions later on. They continued to go about their day, asking how the princess slept. In turn, the princess replied, "Oh, terribly bad. I scarcely closed my eyes all night, as it seemed as if I were lying upon some hard pebble. My whole body is black and blue this morning. It is truly terrible." She had lied about why she could not sleep, to cover up her shame from eating all the food prepared for breakfast and more the night before. The queen saw that she must be a real princess. Only a real princess could have felt the pea through the 20 mattresses and 20 feather beds. The prince excitedly asked her right then and there, after knowing her for only 1 day, to be his wife. Sure that he had found a real princess, the prince once again traveled the world, this time with his hot wife, and they were very happy. The pea, on the other hand, was placed in a museum and was visited by people from many countries. Why? Because people were so astonished by the way a real princess was discovered, and it is now a huge statue of the prince and princess's love. The princess continues to struggle with eating in private, past fullness within multiple hours of eating, and dealing with the guilt as a result. But she has decided to find help with a therapist after speaking about her struggles with her own husband, who is very supportive. The end.